Significant that as the price has fallen of Bitcoin, we have a pretty significant inflow for the Bitcoin ETFs yesterday. Is this a gutsier or more aware crowd that says, I want to participate in the cryptocurrency movement?
I think that retail investors and institutions have both realized that Bitcoin is a resilient asset that's going to be worth a lot more 5 or 10 years from now than it is today. And therefore, when there are these dips, they look at them as buying opportunities. And if you think of great investors, they understand what they own. And when those assets go down in price, they buy more.
Do you have a high degree of confidence that the environment would be better for Bitcoin and other crypto assets if the former former president, maybe I got vice president on my mind because of what's happening today, but do you think the former president would be more friendly?
Well, Joe, it's good to be with you. Look, I think our Fit for Purpose Fit 21 Act that we passed in the House with 71 Democratic votes is exactly the kind of framework that President Trump would support were he reelected and brought back to the White House, because it directs the SEC and the CFTC precisely what kind of regulatory framework we need for crypto, for people who are innovating and starting a token crypto-related firm, how to trade, how to custody those assets, how to make sure consumers are protected. So that framework, I think, is the right approach, and I think that's what I would recommend to the president that he endorse if we haven't passed it between now and the end of this Congress.
You, as a vice chair of the Financial Services Committee, what else would you expect from a reelected President Trump?
Well, on the Financial Services Committee, I think you'll see that President Trump wants to be a pro-growth, pro-innovation president, and therefore something like the Fed and the supervisors are considering now, this Basel III new capital standards for our commercial banking industry. I think that's a very pro-cyclical approach, meaning it will exacerbate downturns. It's a approach that we don't need. It's an approach that even the banks in Europe are generally rejecting. So I would hope that President Trump would reject something like full implementation of Basel III and use a much more tailored, appropriate view to bank regulation as well.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And we have Representative Hill on Trump. And we know when it came to Bitcoin, Trump was against it. Now he's for it. We know the politics. Politicians are paid puppets. But the agenda is the fourth industrial revolution, and that's the reason why whoever becomes president is going to push us in this digital economy. And we're going to start seeing regulations speed up. We have the EU, we have the emerging markets, we have the Middle East already having regulation. We're the last ones there for a reason. Remember, the emerging markets are going to rise, and then America is going to follow behind them. And that is done on purpose because we're the last free nation. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Basel III, and we just had BIS giving more information about Basel III. It's definitely coming, and these capital requirements are there because they need so much liquidity. These small and medium-sized banks are not going to make it because we're going to real-time settlement, meaning less fees. The banking system that we're in right now is fee-based, and then on top of it is fractional reserve lending, which should be illegal anyway. And we have Glover from London speaking on predictions of Bitcoin. Of course, we have some people, 100,000, 150,000, or even 1 million by the end of this year. Guys, we no longer have to guess. The only thing we have to do is follow the Fed, the emerging markets, and Japan. And then we have Mt.Gox selling pressure. And we know Mt.Gox had about 10 years to sell. Everything is set up. It's all planned because we know the Fed is just not going to say, I took your money. So as markets start to drop, liquidity is shrinking up. Now they have something to blame because we also have the U.S. government, Germany, selling their seized Bitcoin. And then Glover speaks about the Solana ETF, which I agree. We definitely need to see more futures Solana ETFs before we get the spot. Why, guys? Because they want it to be a casino. Remember, the house always wins. And then, guys, we have Biden says he's not stepping down. We have 5 months until election. This didn't happen 2 years ago. This didn't happen a year ago. This is 5 months before the election. Guys, remember, you're watching a movie. Sit back, get your popcorn, let it play out, and remember the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Similar bounce in the second half. I think the summer doldrums will continue until the fall, and then we see Bitcoin rally up to somewhere between $85,000 and $100,000 price point, whereas I know some others are looking for a lot higher than that. I just don't think that there's going to be enough impetus to make that through, and I don't think there's going to be enough traditional finance pressure to push that higher. So, my view is I would accumulate Bitcoin down in the 50 to 60,000 range, looking for 85 to 100,000 later. Potentially the ETH ETF approval from the SEC. If that happens, then that will raise up all crypto prices, just as the BTC ETF approval did. But until that happens, we're just in a position where we've got an overhang of supply, partly from the soon-to-be-announced Mt.Gox settlements, partly from long-time holders taking some profits. But at the same time, we also have the traditional financial participants who are still coming into this marketplace post the BTC ETF approval. So that adoption will continue, and I expect that we're going to trade sideways between kind of 55,000 and 72,000 for the balance of the summer. I think it's going to be more in the line of around 140,000 Bitcoin, which is still over $9 billion worth of Bitcoin, so still very significant. But what's uncertain is exactly how much of that is going to be taken up, because there are a lot of people who may have forgotten that they had any Bitcoin on Mt.Gox because they had small balances. People could have passed away in the past 10 years, and their estates are unaware of it. So it may be that it's only a percentage of that 140,000 Bitcoin that actually hits, is taken up in wallets. And then the next question is, how many of those people are going to see that as a windfall that they want to cash in on? A lot of these people who were buying Bitcoin back in 2010 to 2014, when Mt.Gox was operational, they were very early adopters, obviously, and Bitcoin enthusiasts. And many of those people will want to hold on to that Bitcoin because they still believe that there's a lot further to go. And then those that are in jurisdictions that have capital gains tax may see this as, they've got this huge windfall, but they don't want to give up, 25 to 50% of that in capital gains. And so therefore they'll hold on to that and maybe borrow against that to monetize the value of that Bitcoin. So my view is I don't think that we're going to see 140,000 Bitcoin selling pressure into this marketplace. But even if we do, the one thing to think about, Talia, is that's $9 billion of Bitcoin in a market that trades $30 to $40 billion a day in Bitcoin. So it's a significant amount, but it's not going to all hit in one day, and it can be absorbed. The Solana ETF has been applied for because it is kind of the next in line in terms of liquidity and the volumes that trade on the markets for ETF after Bitcoin and ETH. What I would say is until there's a very strong derivatives market where the market makers can hedge themselves, it's going to be difficult for the regulators to get comfortable approving that. And it's frankly going to be difficult for the market makers to really want to support it. So I think that we have to see that derivatives market, the futures market, really build up for Solana first before it's going to be practical that there's going to be sufficient liquidity to be able to support that.
President Biden considering stepping down?
Absolutely not. And you heard, I believe, directly from the campaign as well.
Given the groundswell of concern from fellow Democrats, from donors, from supporters, doesn't he owe it to the American public to reflect on whether he should step down?
I mean, look, it very much into Sung Min's question and my answer to her question, where he had an opportunity to talk to supporters. He's done it a couple times at this point and laid out what happened on that night. Talked about how he understands, and it was not his best night. He understands that it is fair for people to ask that question. But we cannot forget his record. and what he's been able to do. We cannot forget how he has been able to deliver for the American people for almost 4 years. That matters too. And he has the most historic record administration, the most in modern politics, and that should matter. And he wants to continue to do that work.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Sonali Basak. Sonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks, And while everybody's at on wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.